Hey, what's up, people? This is episode 153, maybe. Jason DeBeas. We got a great episode today. This guy, that looks like Aaron Wexler. That looks like Matt Prosser. You guys are going to find out. The episode starts right now. Oh, that's loud. So, for today, gentlemen, turning that off, going back to me. You have asked, but I got them in the room together because for me, I've got to give the people what they want. Along with my man, Aaron Wexler. He's the UCLA standout libero. Also, you won a chip as an assistant for the women's team and is now the club director, the program director for West Coast Volleyball. Welcome to the show, Aaron. What's up?
Thank you so much. Happy to be here.
And my man, Long Beach State standout, also a hell of a recruiter, as well as a player, right? Recruited Kyle Friend out there, main draw, cancer survivor, comeback kid of the year, along with the comeback kid, Eric Baranek. And now I'm FIVB and Beach Volleyball World color commentator and play-by-play guy, Matt Prosser. What's up, man?
What's up, Jay? Thanks for having me, man.
So along with these two geniuses, your guy, the bum from Brooklyn, I'm Jason DeBeas. This is episode 153. Let's get down to brass tacks, boys. We are here for a purpose. I'd love to ask what you guys been up to, but I think we're gonna handle all that. I'm just so excited to. I'm almost at a loss for words. Can you believe that?
That is hard to
Me.
believe.
Nitty gritty, boys. Everybody knows what this episode's about, so we go to topic number one. All right. So topic number one, we are doing our own little, not awards presentation, but who we feel are stood out this year as far as newcomers, as far as coaches, as far as teams, and my own personal one called Hitman for Hire. But first things first, boys. A lot of new faces in the AVP scene, right? So, and some took a little time to get to the draw, but when they did, they became standouts. You got Evan Corey, you got Logan Weber, put some respect on their name. You got anyone whose last name is Partain, right? So, so with that being said, I'd like to start with you, Matt. Matt, who is your 2022 newcomer of the year?
So for me, on the women's side, the newcomer of the year has got to be Julia Scholes. She had a great consistent season. I know it's not her first year. I think on BVB Info it's her third, right? But This was the most tournaments she had played in, right? She made a final. Showed a lot of grit coming out of USC. She played for Dane Blanton. It got to commentate the women's final from Fort Lauderdale, where it was ridiculously hot and humid, like it always is in Fort Lauderdale during the summer. And she just gritted and battled. I mean, during a timeout, I remember specifically seeing her just vomiting in the player box and then getting right up and going right back to work. And that speaks a lot to me in terms of like grit of a player and what you have to do if you want to win at this level on the AVP. So for me, it's Julia Scholes for sure on the women's side. And then on the men's, pretty simple answer, Taylor Sander. Guy had a standout first year on tour. I know he's been playing volleyball for a very long time. Played at BYU, played in the Olympics indoors, U.S. national team, handful of seasons professionally in Europe. So obviously good volleyball pedigree, but just an absolute standout first year for Taylor Sander.
Nice. Mr. Wexler.
Yeah, I mean, I do have to agree with you on the women's side, Scholes. And when you mentioned how she dealt with that heat, look, I dealt with heat. Dealing with heat is tough. And the way she dealt with that was great. And also her on-two game is very impressive. The way she kind of lands, and you can speak to this as a blocker, landing, turning, opening up, seeing the dig, annihilating on two. She does it great. So I have her on the women's side. For the men, it's got to be Miles Partain. I mean, the kid is just impressive to watch. We were talking before the show about how fun he is he's just fun to watch. And it's just impressive how his game just continues to just get better and better and better. And he's so chill and humble and cool. And so he's got a bright future for sure.
All right. So for me, I feel like this is 8 Mile. I feel like Eminem went up there and said everything I was about to say, so I ain't got nothing to say back. So for anyone who watched 8 Mile, these guys got me. I got clowned by a bunch of white dudes from California, man. Here we go. But let's start with the women. Allow me to introduce myself. My name is Scholes. Dun, 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 dun. Julia Scholes, you are a magnificent woman. You are a woman of God, and you use that God-given talent to take you to the top, particularly with partnered up with a girl that we all love. We all really wanted one for Gina Urango, who was right there, and to grab that brass ring so many times and it slipped through her fingers. I enter Fort Lauderdale, Florida. Scholes carried it. Gina Urango finished it, and we got our newcomer of the year for the women. I didn't even start the countdown clock. We're gonna have to do that for the next category. See how excited and not organized I am. So for the men's side, newcomer of the year, I do like your pick of Miles Partain because Taylor Sander made such an impact that. Some of the other newcomers were kind of overshadowed because he's galvanizing, he's in your face, he brings this indoor, like killer mentality. And with that being said, I still got to go with Taylor Sander. I think the thing that divides some of these mid-level open players with the top-level open players is the serve. Where in a land where everybody can enlist a cave troll to block, everyone's got hands, everyone whatever. When you have that serve to space, that makes people uncomfortable. Not to mention the constant pressure, not just an ace looking for whatever, but that constant pressure. Every play you got to worry about him. He's got 75 service aces. He's 15 serves ahead of our regular resident leader. Jeremy K-Spear, right? Jeremy K-Spear is usually the number. Though K-Spear on aces per set, I'll show you the stats, is probably a little bit ahead. Yep, there he is. But there's something to be said about this guy that comes with this indoor serve. And he's like, wait a second, I get to serve in the middle and there's no passer there? Awesome.
So
go ahead.
I got to jump in on that
Please,
because Taylor Sander is just extremely fun to watch. I mean, so athletic. And then talk about a season where you're grinding, right? You're grinding all season long and you're not winning. And then all of a sudden you win in the championship. Like, I got to give him love for that.
Yes.
Right? You grind all season long, get to the championship, and you pick it up a notch. So good for
But
him.
not to mention 3 finals appearances.
For sure.
Before, right? I mean, years from now, we're going to remember all these champions, and we don't give a damn who finishes second. And that's a shame. But at the same time, as an East Coast guy, you are what your record says you are. But with that being said, 3 finals appearances, man, I'm glad that he was able to do what Taylor and Trevor couldn't do in 3 or 4 tries in their first time,
Yeah. No, I'm sticking by Miles Partain, but I got to give love to Taylor Sander because of that grind and because of the way he picked it up and it kind of like crescendoed.
So I want to interject a little bit about Miles, and I know we're going to be talking about Miles quite a bit over this podcast, but to me, Miles is not a newcomer. He got a 3rd place last year with Paul Lottman in Chicago. So that takes him out of the newcomer race in terms of my definition of what a newcomer is. This was Taylor Sander's first year on the beach.
Yeah.
Right? And yes, he's got a great jump serve that he brought from the indoor game where it was one of the best in the world. But he was able to tweak his blocking. And the most important thing for newcomers is setting in transition, which you guys both know is a very big skill. Unfortunately for Taylor Sander, he's got Taylor Crabb to hit his sets, but he got better at those as the season went on.
Yeah, totally agree.
Point taken, but Miles Partain seems like a newcomer. He's this kid. I know he played last year.
How long are we going to call that kid a newcomer?
But man, I mean, he's, I got to give him love,
Yeah.
It's just because you guys are both Bruins, I'll be honest.
Yeah. Hey, right, MPSF Player of the Year last season.
Yeah.
Right? But, I mean, the MPSF has to cowboy up and let their conference get stronger right now, all right? Because right now, Player of the Year is like saying I got an extra toy in my Happy Meal. They got to cowboy up and strengthen that division a little bit.
Now, both those dudes, I got to talk about, Sanders, obviously his highlight is his offense, right? He can just hammer a ball like crazy and serving for sure. But Miles is versatile, right? He can jump set. He can freeze a blocker, right?
You're not wrong.
The way he jump sets right now, he's actually kind of changing the whole game.
Yeah, I totally agree with you. You're not wrong, which is why I think we're going to continue to be talking about him.
Yes, I mean, isn't it crazy? We just got started, and I felt like we
Man.
It's a foreshadowing of what's to come in the next 4 topics.
You said that was the juicy
Wex is
stuff.
just baiting it up.
All right, guys. So let's go to topic number 2. Topic number 2. Sometimes a player gets hurt. All right. And sometimes they have to pull out of tournaments because they can't help it. I have an old saying, if you're hurt, you can play. And if you're injured, you can't. Some players are injured and they can't go. So you need to dial up someone who is always there when you need them. Someone that picks up the phone and says yes. And now this award goes to the person that not only picks up the phone saying yes is not an uncommon thing, but to them, it's a normal day. So the question is, gentlemen, who is your hitman for hire? I'm going to go first on this one. I have to go Andy Benesh. If there's more of a hitman for hire than him, make sure that guy has like a double barrel shotgun. Make sure he has one of those AT4 rocket launchers. If he doesn't have the disposable law one, you need someone to take out your tank, get that light anti-tank weapon, call Andy Benesh. You need someone to jump out of a plane with a parachute and rescue your cat from a tree and land in the tree, call Andy Benesh, okay? You need somebody. I could go on. And in fact, I still didn't start the clock, but I'm going to finish early. Make mine Andy Benesh. Wex, you go next. 60 seconds. Bam. Let's go.
Gotta go Triborn.
There it is.
I mean, to think of someone who's versatile enough who could just step right in. And look what he did in the Olympics. He got called in. Taylor Crabb wasn't available to play. Got COVID. Just stepped right in there. And he actually, I think he led in offense, right? The whole Olympics? Didn't he lead in offense?
He did. It was the best attacker in the
Come
Olympics.
on.
91%.
You know?
Side out percentage.
So I'm going with Triborn. On the girls' side, I got to mention Sarah Hughes.
Well, we'll do the girls later.
Okay.
I didn't mention the girls, so we'll go
All
around.
right, all
We'll go
right.
around again for the girls.
All right. Go ahead, man. Hey, because that's me. The only other guy that I would mention is Trevor. Those guys are teammates, but yeah, I'm going with Tri.
So
Hold on, let's reset my clock.
initially, Wex, I was going to say Triborn also because of all the same points that you just said. Getting called into the Olympics, right? Is experienced. He'll play both sides of the court. He can block. He can play defense. He can serve aces. He can dig. He can do everything, right? But for the sake of not taking the same player, I'm going to go with Kame Schalk, all right? Throw a little bit of a wild card in there. Serious blue-collar baller that can play offense, defense. He can block when needed. He's an Olympian for Canada. No big deal. Our neighbors to the north. Great attitude. He's a champion. He's won on the AVP with multiple partners. Had a great season. And I would pick him up if I needed a partner for sure.
He can do everything well.
I like that. So let's do a round on the women. Wow, you guys didn't need the whole 60 seconds. Stop. Rewind. So for my women was a really good, really difficult choice because they're they're so evenly matched. Like it seems like anyone could beat anyone on any day. And if you remember the first 6 tournaments, there were 6 different winners, and all that had to do with last minute switches. So I'm gonna go with Savvy Simo. Savvy Simo had a really good partner that could have been our pick for newcomer of the year, right? She was well on her way. If Tony
Rodriguez, yeah.
Tony Rodriguez, right, and had that sad injury. Nightlight, spotlight, watching her play at home against 2 other Louisianans, and she got hurt. But Savvy was with her, carried that. Savvy was with Emily Day, carried that, and has managed to have a great heightened level of success with all of her partners in top 9, and I think 1 top 5 finish. Though I will highlight Haley Harward, our muscle woman, who not only is a good hit woman for hire, but if you need her to sing the national anthem, she's like boom, in the home of the brave and land of the free. Good for her. And there's my horn, and boom, Aaron Wexler. You go, buddy.
All right, so I mentioned Sarah Hughes. Now, Sarah Hughes is an absolute baller. She's a champion, won Manhattan Open with Kelly Kalinske, but she can do everything. So recently I actually got a chance to practice against her with Ty Trambly. Shout out Ty Trambly. And
multiple times for the record. I've seen you do
a couple times out
not
there.
just once.
Yeah. But okay, so being on the court with Sarah and Kelly, but I'm talking Sarah right now. She's got this focus level that I've never really seen before. I've seen it in April Ross. I've seen it in April and Alex, right? Obviously Olympic champions.
But she's like lazy.
But Sarah Hughes she's got this incredible ability to focus, to lock in, and perform at all the skills. She can do all the skills. She can do them well. She's got an extremely bright future. Watch out for her.
And she's extremely competitive.
Yep.
Yeah.
Always has been.
Yep.
And
I
she's
remember watching her grow up down in Huntington. Always been competitive.
Yeah.
There goes the horn. You can't hear it, but you could see the clock at zeros. Maddie Pro.
So I'm going
is
to go
yours.
with Sarah Sponsel. Okay. I love the way Sarah Sponsel plays. Always has like a chip on her shoulder, right? Does everything really good. She's a tough server. She's got a variety of serves. Her setting, right, is amazing. She can go over on two. She's very deceptive. Great. Obviously, we all know how good she is on defense. All over the place. She's fast. And she's got an engine on her, like a motor, right? She just never runs out of gas, it seems like. So Sarah Sponsel is my hit woman.
Nice. Cool. So I'm going to use the last 30 seconds to say, engine number 9 on the New York Transit line. If my train falls off the track, pick it up, pick it up, pick it up. That's Sarah Sponsel. You are right. I like the engine. I like the laser-like focus you were talking about. And I like that you kind of hinted that Sarah's lately's got a little dog in her.
Oh,
that little killer instinct, because we got skill because of it was a college sport, and a lot of these girls have this ruthless aggression, but that dog, that thing that makes you feel sorry that you ever served them, I only limited that to Kristen Nuss and Betsy Flint. You know, like that Misty May type thing. And I didn't see that from any of them until we saw a little bit of that from Sarah this year. And Sponsel, call me. Come on the podcast.
I think Sarah Hughes is a little upset she wasn't in the Olympics. And there's some fuel there for that fire for her in this quad.
Absolutely. So, and can we just talk about one thing for a second? Everybody can set. You mentioned Sarah Sponsel being a great setter, and she's phenomenal. But right now, setting seems to be like this skill that everyone just said, you know what, I'm going to get real good at that. You notice that?
And they're all hand setting.
Everyone's hand setting, man.
Every single woman hand sets. It's nuts.
And guys too. There's a lot of guys that hand set too. And you know, I really like that skill, right? That's one of the skills that I've tried to perfect over the years as a player myself. But watching everyone right now, I'm impressed. Yeah. And then we mentioned Miles Partain jump setting. Right, you got jump setting now, but everyone can hand set. It's crazy.
But I'm more impressed on the women. The men, you've always seen people do the FBI catch and release, the international guys with the high hands. But now, back in the day, it was just Larissa. Remember in the Olympics, it was just Larissa.
Right.
All everyone would do was talk about her hands this, hands that. And now, even at the junior scene, right? I mean, you as a club coach, we're one of the most elite clubs in, certainly on the West Coast, but in the United States.
It's a fun skill to practice because, as a kid, the hands are small, so it's like it's a little more difficult. But it's fun. It's fun to say, hey, can you get the spin off the ball? Can you put it in the right spot? And I'm impressed when I see the pros just put up these like dimes. I'm like, dang.
So last point on this one, right? Everybody remembers Misty May,
Yes.
All-American indoor setter at Long Beach State, right?
Yeah, top 3 GOAT.
Yeah, for sure. Comes out on the beach, never hand sets.
Yeah,
only bump sets.
Right.
Remember?
Yeah.
Her entire career,
That's
and
right.
now everybody is hand setting. That's just how the game's evolved, right? It's great to see the growth.
I think about our gold medal champs, right? They were predominantly bump setters too, weren't they? Kleiman and Ross. Ross started using their hands at the end, but Kleiman was like, no way in hell, you silly little shit.
This younger generation that has all these extra years of training, they're all hand setting.
I got to mention Tri, too. Tri Bourne, again. Like, all this spin off a dig, getting his hands set, getting his feet set, putting up sauce.
I would also suggest that people are releasing the ball faster, too. The faster the release is, the more the jump set becomes applicable. Like a lot of these guys that do a little catch and throw, good luck watching that hot mess in the air take the ball and jump in the air and do this and that. See how a referee feels about that.
Hey, I know we got more things to talk about, but setting, can we just talk one more minute about how to call a set?
Look at Matt. He's down. Look at him. He's down.
No,
Matt's
because
down.
I'm serious because like I don't even know what's good or bad anymore.
Yeah.
I think this is what I think happened, Matt, and I'm going to give you the floor. I think the referees have gotten together and unofficially said, you will be the victim of your own standard. If you choose to take it in and out, I'm judging you by spin. If you have a fast release, I'm going to forgive some spin. But the referees, as a baseline, have all agreed to teach the players that it's not how the set comes out, it's how it comes in.
Okay.
Which is why on FIVB, you'll see they won't wait for the spin to blow the whistle. The whistle on the double's blown right away. They're not waiting to see spin.
Yeah.
Maddie.
I think from a viewer standpoint, everyone wants to see less whistle and less official referee involvement in the game. Right? Leave it up to the players, okay? And if you have a new person watching the game and you see a referee blow the whistle and hold up two fingers, like, well, what's that mean?
Right.
Well, the set came out with some spin. Well, it's a ball. It's going to spin, right?
Right.
So I know on the international tour, they want to say as few whistles as possible.
Right.
And there was a lot of lifts being called because the ball was going too low, which I think is fair. So if you take it higher, like above your chin and quicker, it's going to be fair. Anything below your chin should be called a lift, right?
Yeah.
And if there's a little bit of spin, one rotation, big deal. That's not an advantage for the other team.
No.
It's fine. Now, if there's 6 rotations and it looks like complete hot mess, then yeah, call the double. Like have some standard, right?
All right.
I would also say go by your own rules. Like Connecticut, if one whole rotation is a double, and we're like, fine. But then you do something that doesn't rotate, that spins a little, and they're calling a double. And I'm like, you trying to tell me that ball turned an entire time? That ball didn't turn at all. Do you realize how fast that ball has to turn to make an entire time? So I'm like, one, check with your league. right. Check with your league. Because, Connecticut, it is by spin, 1.25 times. CBVA, they actually handwritten in their rules to make sure you don't receive serve in an overhead set, because that's never been illegal. It's only been illegal to double or carry it. But CBVA is like, no, we got our own players reffing games.
Right.
We need to move this along. We're just writing into our rules, right? Because that's what does. Pottstown Rumble, guys, right? Side out, big court, 15. That's their rules. Sure. Donaldson, scoring freeze. No let serve on match point.
Sure.
That's the league. That's the
fair.
rules. So yeah. So for me, I would just say check your league.
All right.
Don't make me call Dave Carson, because the last time we had this conversation, I had Jeff Samuels and Doc Vandermeer, and I got on the phone and we live on the live podcast, and Dave Carson answered questions for 25 minutes. Stood tall.
Last thing I want to say about that,
Please. Yeah.
is that I think in the next season, the AVP should just take a moment in the middle of a match, or maybe prior to a match, and just go over that with everybody. Just go over it. This is what it looks like, because you can't see it on TV. You can't see it. You have to, like, a player can see it, but a spectator can't see it, and then you have to trust the announcers, which Dane and Cameron do a great job. But I'm just saying, like, let's go over that so everyone knows.
Yeah, Matt's taking notes. It's like, all right, so that's what I'm going to say on my next whatever.
Because it's so quick, It's
quick.
It's so
it is
quick.
quick, and part of it is a judgment call also by the referee, depending on how good or bad he thinks the double contact is.
Right.
So I think volleyball needs to eliminate the judgment calls, because it's not black and white.
There should be a standard.
There needs to be a standard.
Yeah.
I would also say welcome to the realm of mainstream sports, right? How many times you see LeBron walk up the court literally holding the ball before he dribbles, and a ref's just like, it's all right, I didn't see it, so there's some things where they kind of swallow their whistle. Matt, you remember back, you can go back and view with me in the 2008 Olympics against Russia. USA's up like 13-12, and that guy backs at the ball. Literally, I remember, I forget who it was. It was Kevin Barnett or Paul Sunderland. He said, that was a chuck. But David Lee ended up finishing it with like a kill,
right?
Yeah, and then a block to finish the game on their oppo, no less. So great conversation about hands, and that's what this podcast is about, because I know the comment section is going to light up, gentlemen. All right, so now topic number 3, gents. A young player came up to me and asked me, it says, Jay, how do you get to the next level in the sport? Because you see coaches coaching people in the main draw. You see people coaching players into the main draw. The Parchains, that was Jeff Alzina. If you remember, I myself coached Earl and Jake into one in 2019. So I looked at this young player and I said, come here, closer, get closer. Get a coach. Get a coach. Because some of these guys, they get so good so fast, they think they got it all figured out. So I said at the elite level, everyone has pretty good coaches, and some have great ones. So this topic is geared to highlight and salute all of the coaches work collectively, but at the same time, pick one who we feel is coach of the year this year, 2022. So Matt, Aaron, who's your coach of the year? Matt, you go first.
So on the men's side, my coach of the year is a former player. I think former players make great coaches. Okay,
Some of them
we can
do.
dive into that. Some of them do, sure.
Yeah.
Some maybe not so much, but
Ask Isaiah Thomas.
But this guy's been coaching for a long time and coaching other things other than just volleyball. He was a semi-professional tennis player, I think, for a little bit. He actually tried to play beach volleyball for Czech Republic. He tried to change nationalities, even though he's born and raised in San Diego. His mom's been a long-time personal trainer. So my coach of the year is Mike Playchek, right, for Paul Lottman and Miles Partain. Guy had his team to 8 top 10s in the season, a championship, right, multiple finals. And you could tell that Paul and Miles and Mike made a great team together, that we're all on the same page, very analytical. Mike's analytical. You can tell Miles is analytical. And I know Paul Lottman. I've known him for a long time. I used to coach him. And so I know he bought into it right away too. So
I like it. And with 23 seconds left, I'd like to highlight that Miles Partain's, at age 15, his first main draw, he had to beat Playcheck and Martyr to the game before the play-in.
I'm sure they've talked about
the guy who wound up as coach is the guy he beat on his path to his first main draw at 15 years old with his brother, no less, who was 17. Who do you got? Coach of the year.
I got to give love to Mike Playchek too, man. He's a good dude, and just talk about analytical. Yeah, he knows the game. The coach of the year for me on the guys' side is the coach for Trevor and Try,
Leandro.
Leandro. I don't know too much about him, but like we said before, to win 2 titles in the same year is very impressive. Winning once is extremely difficult. Winning twice is even more challenging. So I got to give love to him for that. Whatever he's doing with those guys is working. So kudos to him. And then on the girls' side, I am a little biased. Evie Matthews, a friend of mine. I've been on the court with him. I've seen the way he works. When he won the Manhattan Open, with Kelly Kalinsky and Sarah Hughes, and that's huge. And I'm super happy for him. But talk about a guy who's dedicated, who's passionate, who thinks about the game, the sport. I've had hour conversations with him about the game, about drills, about different little idiosyncrasies about the game. I just love his passion. So I got to give love to Evie.
So your men's is Leandro, and your women's is Evie. All right, pause the clock, rewind. Oh man, so much to unpack here, guys. But this is why I'm doing 1 minute, because I could talk all day. I think I speak for all 3 of us on that. So on the men's side, it was really, really tough, but I had to go with Leandro because, as you mentioned, great coaches, players make good coaches. I thought Jose Loyola, I never really considered him like a real coach, but I consider him a winner. He knows how to win, and he showed that with Reed Priddy and Trevor, Trevor's first, and never Trevor's first Manhattan Beach. So he's etched with an Olympic gold medalist. But when Leandro took over, and when I saw Hagen Smith and Dietrich, the 16 beat the 1, I was like, I don't know if this is going to work. But Try and Trevor had a trust system. They were men, it's really, really hard to give up control to someone that doesn't have star power, like Leandro did at the time, but his star power is big now, and they trusted him. They won 2 out of 3 gold series, and now every time you go to a tournament, you're not saying any men's team can win this. You're like, this is the heavy favorite going in, and I never had that sense with Try and Trevor when Loyola was the coach. I never had them as heavy favorites. Could they win like everybody else? Yes. Women's side, really quick, because I ran out of time. Got to give it to the girls at 24th Street. Scott Davenport, big up to you, man. Make sure you keep exercising. Don't be a fat coach, all right? But to do that, win Hermosa Beach, Therese Cannon, right? Sarah Sponsel. You knew their competitors, you knew their ballers, but no one in the world picked them to win Hermosa Beach except themselves. Belief System, congratulations, Sponsel and Cannon. Congratulations, Scott Davenport. This is the Option Podcast, and we love you.
I got to throw in my co-coaches of the year for the women's side, because I didn't go there yet. You guys named both of them. Co-coaches, also 2 of my former partners, I must say. Evie Matthews, right, did a great job winning Manhattan, right, with his crew, Hughes and Kalinsky. That's a massive win for them. And Evie has worked extremely hard. He's worked with John Hyden in the past. I mean, you've been around that group for a long time. Yep. He worked with John and Try when they were first partnering up. Yep. So, talk about rewards for your work, right, paying off down the road. But then also for Scott Davenport, he's my co-coach of the year on the women's side because of Sponsel and Scholes, right? Cannon. Yeah. But also because he coaches Theo Brunner and Cam Shaw,
Who also won
in Hermosa.
Yes.
So Scott and I played a little bit too in 2009, but I know he's been coaching a lot ever since he kind of hung up the boardies and retired from playing. So those two guys are doing great things on the coaching side for the women.
Now, we all live in the South Bay, but honestly, if there's anything that anyone would consider the home team in a home game, that was kind of like Brunner and Schalk and Sponsel and Cannon, who stopped tipping. Your name is Cannon, not Therese Shot.
And finally, my last point about the Hawaiian-Brazilian coaching player connection of Bourne and Crab with whoever their Brazilian coach is. Stay with it because it works, right?
Yeah.
Hey, I got to say one more thing about the coaching. So, we all know this. Coaching's hard, right? Coaching's hard. And for the listeners like who are like, oh, okay, yeah, you just go tell a couple guys who to serve. No, it's so much more than that. And all these coaches that we just mentioned, they put their heart and soul into this. And it's really cool to see it pay off. And, and as coaches, you take a team on a journey, right? And you grind it out day after day. And you look at tape and you think about them all the time and try to figure out what to do, what to say to make them better, right? And so for all those names that we just mentioned, huge congrats, because you guys did the right thing at the right time.
Yeah. And it's all the difference in the world. Now people are not filling at each other till the technical timeout. Now you're watching these teams get after it from point one. And this is how you keep the old fans staying at the court and not leaving the court. This is how you get new fans who are walking by. This looks interesting. I want to stay and watch. Next thing you know, everyone's staying and watching. And I always use as an example, Qatar, that exhibition game I taped, Qatar against Try and Trevor.
Yeah.
Practice game. No refs, nothing, no money at stake. From point one all the way to 17-15. Just, just getting after it. Like someone said something about someone's mother or something.
But
crazy.
But the coaching, and Matt, I'd love to hear you speak to this. I think it's so cool to see the coaches actively involved in games now, right? Like, it's definitely timeouts, but like, you see Scott Davenport like give some direction here and there. And I'd love to get them mic'd up for next season. I would love to hear some of that stuff. Those small little coaching directives.
I don't know if you'd be able to keep everything mic'd up. You have to have a buzzer to
That's fine, though. That's fine. But I love that. I think it's great.
I agree with you. I think on the AVP, it's awesome that the coaches are in the box. They change sides. They get moments to speak to their team because it is a team sport. And I wish the FIVB would allow coaches into the player boxes on the beach tour.
Why don't
because honestly, I have no idea.
They're kind of following a tennis format. But think about it. You like tennis, you get in trouble for coaching, But it's not tennis, it's volleyball.
They need to have players need coaches in their box. It's a team sport. Yeah. Tennis is a single sport.
Gotcha.
I mean, doubles, okay, that's like, doubles for hire, right? You play with a person that you can win with. Beach volleyball, it's a team game. Like 100%. You need to have a coach there.
I would love to see a challenge. Have a coach like in football, throw a flag and challenge like that.
Yeah. The challenge system, that's a whole other thing. But.
In that case, you definitely have to be mic'd up because you want to hear what they have to say before they throw the challenge, right? You got to be
Yeah, throw it.
You're going to have dedicated audio people.
I love it. No, we need that. I think we need that as a sport. We need more spice.
Yeah. I was mic'd up for like a city college documentary. I was a head coach there. And after the first set, they took the mic off. They took the mic off of me. I was a New Yorker.
I would love to see earpieces and mics on the coaches for the whole match so that the box could go down to the coach and do like a mid-match interview, right? Without a microphone going back and forth, but just say, Coach, like, what were you thinking on that play? What was the goal right there? And get the in-match emotions, right? Is what
I could imagine, dude. We don't have any Popoviches. We got people that are accommodating, right? Where it's like, what do you want to do next set? Play better. That's Popovich. Or be like, I don't know, Jeff Van Gundy. I don't know. I'm not gonna waste time talking to you. I'm gonna take my time and talk to them.
It's a tricky line to walk, right? Because I interviewed some coaches at the Indoor World Championships where between sets 2 and 3 I would interview both coaches.
Because there's a 10-minute gap, right? Is there like a bigger gap between 2 and 3?
No, not indoors.
Okay. Sorry, go ahead.
But they wanted to get information from the coaches, and the coach that was losing, they didn't want to talk. They were like, "What do you want to know? Like, hurry up! Like, let's go." And it was like forced, right? And the coach that was winning was like, yeah, okay, cool. Like, this is what we're trying to, we got to pass the ball. We keep serving tough. Our block's got to be, it's all cliched stuff.
Human nature. We got to love human nature, right? Who the hell wants to talk when you're losing?
Right. but so engagement is the key, right? And I think we'll talk about more AVP stuff later, but I would love to get more engagement from the fans. Maybe there's a coaching little thing that we could talk about. Hey, what do you guys want to see? Should we serve try more? Like things like that.
Write that down because I do want us to talk about that.
Yeah.
I want to finish this, but that is a because that's a conversation we had before.
Yes, it is.
That I'd like to bring them at and
cool.
and the three of us, along with thousands and thousands of people who are going to be listening to this.
Cool. Let me see that pen.
We'll have an opinion too. Definitely. Hey, let's get to topic 4.
Yeah.
So topic 4. 2022 has been a magical year for the men's and women's season on the domestic tour. For the women, going into Chicago, there have been different teams that won every championship at every pro stop. Where the men, there were multiple semifinals with appearances by the usual suspects. So, gentlemen, and this is where Aaron Wexler goes first, my man A-Wex. Who is your team? He's like, I got to go first. Why are you going to let me go first? Who is your team of the year, Wex? Let's start with the men.
Okay, well, Try and Trevor. They won twice, right? I mean, that for me, it's kind of simple. But I also want to throw in Miles Partain and Paul Lotman, just because of their ability to play at such a continual high level. All right, so I want to talk about both. So Try and Trevor, I mean, consistently up in the mix in the championships, right? And then Trevor for his guarantees, right? Like to be able to guarantee wins and back it up, that says a lot. And we already talked about their coach, and we talked about their success, but they got to get recognized for winning twice. And then I just got to finish my thought on Miles and Paul. I mean, fun to watch as a team. And it seems like Paul's game has increased quite a bit. I mean, just to see him out there playing at that level, I'm very happy for him actually, and they got a bright future.
Oh, did you see the time in?
Right on time. Well
Even
played,
he heard
sir.
the horn without the headset. Matt, you're going to back clean up on this. I'll go next, okay? Sure. So for me, gentlemen, for team of the year for the men, as we start my clock, because yak. My men's team of the year is Try and Trevor. I believe they won two that I remember. They might have won a third somewhere else, but I don't remember where. So it's a pretty obvious pick because they've always come in at the number 1 seed, and like you said, I know it costs nothing to predict that you're going to win, but if you win, it's like 5 more times the impact, and there's something to be said about a team that bets on himself and finds ways to win and do. Trevor, I mean, I'm a little biased because I'm a purist of the sport, but I do have my favorites, and Trevor Crabb happens to be one of them, along with Eric Baranek and someone else I can't even remember. On the women's side, it was a wash until the end, right? You had a different team win every title, every tournament going into Chicago. But you got to give it to the girls in Louisiana, man.
Yeah.
The girls bat clean up.
Yeah.
Gold series, the lowest they finished with was 5th. So I mean, and somehow, some way, when it comes down to them and someone else, they know it's gonna be them, and they batted clean up in Chicago. They won in convincing fashion, the same way they started the season in Austin.
That's,
make mine Kristen Nuss, and allow me to introduce myself. My name is Clothed. Matt.
So you guys make valid points about Try and Trevor, but I'm actually going to go against it. And I'm actually going to say that I think they had a bit of a disappointing season, actually. If I'm Trevor or Try, I think they had they didn't live up to their own expectations, which are high. So
they won twice.
Congratulations.
But they lost in a 16-seeder from us. God, sorry.
Okay. So 2 teams stand out to me. All right, Kame Schalk and Theo Brunner.
Okay. And
also Paul Lotman and Miles Partain. Now Schalk and Brunner, I think, were the leading money winners for the season because they were consistent, right? I think. I don't have that on. I could be wrong.
4 finals appearances,
but they were consistent.
That's pretty good.
However, my team of the year is Lotman and Partain.
Yeah.
Okay, because of what they did, their body of work, right? 8 top 10 finishes all season, right? Miles Partain, the MVP of the season. Paul Lotman I mean, arguably could be most improved.
Yeah.
What he did and how he was able to kind of not, I don't want to say like chauffeur or be like the chaperone, right, for Miles Partain, but just how they worked so well together, making, finals, semis, and then finally getting that victory in the season.
Yeah. I'm going to give you another minute for the women, but I do want to highlight the man. How about 3 finals appearances with Taylor and Taylor, right? Who flew under the radar. And I'll have this whole conversation about how nobody gives a shit about second place. But let's go another. I want your women.
So for my women,
it's
Kelly Ching and Betsy Flint.
Mm-hmm.
Very, very consistent. Again, their body of work over this season was top notch. I don't think they finished outside of the top 3, a third place all season long. I could be mistaken, maybe a 5th, but they were extremely consistent throughout the entire year. Plus, they went overseas and played in Europe, where they got some gold medals, the Elite 16s. Those were long events, and then they came right back to the States and took care of business on the AVP. So they had a really good season. Kelly Chang doing what she does with her option play. Betsy Flint having a bit of a renaissance after becoming a mother. It was a good story for those two, and so they're my women's team of the year.
Yeah, I'm checking the stats for us right now as we finish our countdown on your diatribe. 8 appearances. There's one championship, 3 seconds, 3 thirds, and one weird aberration at 7th. But you're right. 7 of the 8 stops, they were 3rd place or higher. Very, very, very good. 1st, 2nd, 3rd, right there. Look at that. I like that. Cool. But I wanted to talk before we go into our next topic about just highlighting some of these people, like you said, Kame Schock and Theo Brenner, who are always there at the scene of the crime.
Yeah.
And for us to remind people that making the championship and failing is a difficult thing for the people who made it that far and lost, but should not be ignored for everybody else they had to beat and all of the trees they had to chop down just to get there, right?
Sure.
So highlighting Taylor and Taylor, congratulations to you guys. Highlighting Theo and Kame, congratulations to you. Highlighting Gina Yarengo and Scholes, who on some of the small tours as well as the big ones have been at the scene of the crime. Good for you guys. Good for all. Chang and Flint, like we just said, no lower than 3rd. 7 of the 8 stops.
Mm-hmm.
So, but yeah, and that kind of sucks, right? Like, Karch and
Kent?
196, right?
Mm-hmm.
Who remembers Mike Dodd and Whitmarsh? God rest his soul. Nobody remembers silver, right? USA won the gold. Who remembers Juba and Dante outside of 2004? No one remembers 2nd place except fanatics and absolute volleyball nerds, which all happen to be in this room.
Now, let me jump in for a second. So you mentioned Taylor and Taylor.
Yeah.
We didn't really talk about the best player.
No, that's last.
We haven't gotten there yet.
Okay.
That's
all
last.
right.
Jumping the gun, Wex.
All right, my bad. Well, okay, then I'll hold back, but I do want to mention those guys as a team because they stayed consistent. I love how you mentioned Theo and Kame. Consistency is huge, right? But Taylor and Taylor, they peaked at the right time. They won the championship.
They really did.
You got to give them love for that. They deserve love.
Yeah, but it was an indoor event.
But you
you opened yourself up to it.
I mean,
Wex,
only
okay?
6 teams. Only 6 teams, but the top 6 teams and air-conditioned win.
Air-conditioned win.
And like I said before, guys, this isn't the AVP deep sand only where there's water and waves championship. No, it's a beach volleyball championship.
How many matches is that?
Don't give them an asterisk.
3
Do not give them
How
an
much
asterisk.
money is the same money in
Same
Chicago?
money.
I'm a
3
pure
matches.
beach guy too, guys, but don't give them an asterisk. They won the championship. They peaked at the right time.
Absolutely. No, when they had to, I definitely 100%. I want to see where they finish in Chicago. No, not Chicago. Atlanta. That was a gnarly finish. You see it?
7.
Okay, 7 right there. I just want to get Taylor Crabb's finishes. Look at that. So, where are we? Sorry. So, okay, 8 tournaments, 3 seconds, 2 thirds, and 1 first. So 6 out of the 8 stops.
And
they finished
ranked
no
5th on
lower.
the season.
It's so weird.
I mean, that's very respectable.
Yeah.
Especially for, Taylor Crabb, who's blocking part of the time now a little bit.
And he
and
gets
getting
blocks.
some
too.
blocks,
Yeah, he gets
right?
blocks.
But also for Taylor Sander in his first year on the beach.
Yeah.
Yeah, no doubt, guys. So, since we're steering into this conversation, everything's segued by the genius of Matt Prosser and Aaron Wexler. They're steering me this direction where the wheel is now mine again, where I will drive us to our final topic. Okay, this year, excuse me. This is the player of the year discussion. This is sometimes decided by looking at a leaderboard. Sometimes you look at a leaderboard and it makes mathematical sense. This is also decided by one's eye test. And I definitely got enough years of experience as far as the men in the room. All three of us have coached. All three of us have commentated. Both of you guys have played at the high level beach. I'm an indoor hack. So I don't apply. I will defer to you guys on that. On the other hand, to coaches like Bill Parcells, you are what your record says you are. He's a cold fish. He's the big tuna. But on my end, I think I'm going to go first on this one. No, I'll go last on this one because I'm the only one of the three of us that let the fans vote. I let the fans decide who the 2022 Player of the Year is, okay? Matt, you're going to lead the charge on this. Matt Prosser, 60 seconds. Who is your 2002 male and female? Let's just do male. Well, let's take the time. Let's start with a minute and see where we go. Who's your male Player of the Year?
So my Player of the Year, not a real big surprise, is going to be Miles Partain. He's 20 years old. The kid can't even drink the beer that he wins at the championship ceremony. He gives it to his partner, Paul Lottman, to drink the beer for him. I mean, talk about discipline, right? Blue collar, kid just... No, I want to change that. He's not a kid, right? He's a champion. The kid's been playing for a couple of years, right? He comes out of Westwood. He's following all these other setters that have come through UCLA volleyball. Guys like Karch Karai, Sinjin, Ricky Ludes, Brandon Taliaferro. All these dudes have gone on to play on the beach. Stein Metzger, don't forget about him. And now he's doing it, right? Statistically, he's up at the top in all the major categories. But really, it's like the intangibles for me. The fact that he's left-handed changes up the angles. There's not a lot of left-handed hitters right now, but his jump setting, his option play, his ability to set his partner, who by the way was an Olympian outside hitter, pretty good combination, right?
And he's humble.
And he's extremely humble.
Yeah.
So it's not just the numbers for me, but also the intangibles for Miles as MVP.
So wow, you did a combination of the mathematics and what your two eyes can see as a vet. I like that. Hey, we consider experience, Maddie.
There you go.
Wex.
Whew, a little bit of a tough one.
For the men. We're just doing men.
Yeah, a little bit of a tough one because I really like what you said about Miles. I'm a fan. I love watching him play. And I agree with pretty much everything you said. But when you talk about Player of the Year, so my mind goes to who wins, right? Who's on the leaderboard, and then the eye test that you mentioned, Jason. And I didn't think I was going to say this, but, now looking at the charts, this guy's leading in kills. He's leading in digs. He won the championship. I'm going with Taylor Crabb. Now, he didn't have the best year on the year, right? But, I mean, to have the most kills, that means he got served the most. That means he had to pass the best, right? He had to lead his team. He had to kind of help Taylor Sander out on the beach, right? Become a all-around beach player. He had to stay cool. And he had to pick it up at the right time. And all these digs, 380 digs, 693 kills, winning the championship, Taylor Crabb.
And he's a pretty good, he can step up if someone wants to challenge him like one player did.
That was a funny thing. Let's talk about
that. Boy needs a bodyguard, huh?
He's not going to back down.
Dude, that's that chihuahua on a leash saying, boy, you are so lucky. If I wasn't on this leash, what? All right, guys, my turn. So, Aaron, I understand the concept of you being conflicted and changing your mind because for me, I change my mind about as much as I change my underwear. And if you live in a hot, sticky place like New York, that's like 5 times a day. So I allowed this path for me to save me from myself. So I had you guys, the Volleyball Nation, my loyal fans, my followers, my players, my hacks, my coaches, my commentators, decide to vote for Player of the Year. And 150 votes in, Miles Partain was so far ahead, I stopped counting. So our Player of the Year is going to be Miles Partain. Miles Partain, like you said, in many statistical categories is top 5, if not top 2. And if you look at efficiency, like digs, kills per game, digs per game, when you actually talk about the per game stat, it's even tighter. It's even higher. He leads the league in humility. He leads the league in high technical prowess. Not to mention his mental acumen and his IQ is years ahead of him. And Cameron Irwin had like the moment of her life when she said they gave him a White Claw, but he can't drink it. And I was like, Cameron, you're awesome. Cameron, you're awesome. That was a Cameron moment because I always thought she was pretty decent. Not with Barnett, but pretty decent. And that was so great because, like you guys said, the guy's not old enough to drink, but he can be my general any day of the week and twice on Sunday. Miles Partain.
So I got to mention his transition offense, right? Because I told you I'm a fan. I've been on the court with him too, and me and Travis Schoonover would help train him, and we were like, man, this guy's got a future. But the way that he can dig a ball, wait for the set, stay behind it, and bring thunder in transition, I've never really seen anyone else do that as consistently as he can do that.
I've only seen John Mayer do it, who happens to be lefty too.
I was going to say John as well.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
This guy, he's this methodical approach, that little good, better, best. And then you're like, all right, I think I could dig this. But then when he swings, where the hell did that come from?
And there's also something about him as a fan that makes you want to root for him.
Oh, since
right?
he was 15 years old.
Yeah, there's something about him that, maybe it's the humility, maybe it's his athletic ability, maybe it's all the whole combination. But you want him to do well. Right.
Humility is a great way to say it. He's very likable, right?
Yeah.
I think people, he's not a firecracker. He's not going to lose his head. He's not going to yell at the referee.
Yeah.
He's a good partner, a good teammate. He's coachable, clearly, like all those things that you would expect from a 20-year-old, right,
Yeah.
who's still relatively young. When you look at a guy like Trevor Crabb, who's popping off at everybody, right? Maybe not always going to get the fans behind his back, other than a few special ones, right?
Yeah.
So, again, the intangibles and the humility, like you said, are big keys here.
And we all watch enough wrestling where you're going to pay money to see, is this the guy this day lose? Is this the day this guy loses so I can cheer for the other guy too? So Taylor and anyone whose last name is Crab is definitely doing their part.
But I was also going to say, when he won, was that Atlanta they won?
Yeah.
Okay, when he won, it was kind of funny watching him. Yeah, we mentioned the drinking part, but he wasn't even really excited. He was like, yeah, that was good.
Because he was still in game mode.
He looked like he wanted to keep playing.
He was still in game mode, right?
And he's so analytical, guys. He breaks the game down. I actually did the BCAP with him, the BCAP certification program. And he was in there asking questions to Patty Dodd left and right. And he wanted to know. Like, that's what makes him, I think, real special as a volleyball mind, right? Because he just wants to absorb the game.
But you're right. In Atlanta, it looked like it was a timeout and he was talking to his coach. He was still in game mode. Guys, I went to New Orleans, right? And I saw a roach so big. When I stepped on it, I was so scared of the sight of this. I killed it after the second stomp. I stomped like 8 more times because I was in game mode. I had my game face on stomping that roach, such as Miles Partain.
And on the leaderboards here, he's right behind Taylor Crabb. Right, he's second in kills,
but first in kills per set.
Okay, and second in digs.
Yeah,
right. First in digs per set.
Is he?
I'll show you here. I actually have a raw stat.
I'd love to
Let's
see.
Put it on the big screen for a second. So kills per set, he's first.
Wow. And
digs per set, when we've passed all these people that only played like 11 sets. He's actually one ahead of Taylor. So, but Taylor's been
really
one ahead of him. But Taylor Crabb, my personal bias, he might be having this Jordan effect. He has these MVPs every year that someone that stands out on the same level as him, we tend to lean towards him. So I definitely wanted to give Taylor a big shout. He's not even my favorite Crab, Trevor is. But I had to give Taylor a shout out because of the things he does every year that's worthy of an MVP conversation. I remember 1993 when Barkley got the MVP. Barkley gave it to him because they gave it to Barkley because it was his best year. But Jordan still had the numbers, right? Jordan could have still won. So
Taylor Crabb does everything great. Yeah. He does.
Yeah.
Name a skill he doesn't do great. Even blocking.
Tell you what, we can name that
pretty
later.
great.
We still gonna do. We still,
On the court,
dude.
Can't do it.
Honestly, we knew it was kind of a 2-horse race between the two of them. Though we got to give respect to Phil, who like enlisted the Hitman for hire and won a title. Enlisted Casey. Let's ride off into the sunset together a little bit, play a little doubles together. Always at the scene of the crime at the end. So big up to Phil, who's worthy of the conversation. Big up to volleyball coaches and trainers who gave Phil love on the voting board, like on the voters or whatever. So good for them. Let's go to the women.
Wait. Sorry, Jason. Can we just take 1 minute to talk about Casey Patterson?
We could do it after we do the women.
After? All right.
Yeah, he ain't no player.
he can join the retiree group along
think
with Nicholas Senna.
He deserves a minute, for
Dude,
sure.
You're the one with the pen.
All right.
So don't make me steal your pen. No, because there are two different things I'm definitely thinking Matt's
All right, cool.
interested in talking about at the end. Okay. So Wex, you go first, then Matt, you go second, and I'll go last on this one. I'll clean up. Oh, sorry.
Can you change it to the women?
Yeah, let's do that. I like the women because now our big board can show more acute statistics, but we have them. Guys, I printed them for everybody listening. It looks like a war room in here, for Christ's sakes, and it's hot like a war room. I'm glad you guys are all short sleeve. So, who is your female player, Mr. Wexler, of 2022?
So, watching Kristen Nuss play, she's a baller. She can play at a high level. She can do everything on the court. Her speed, her IQ. Something that it doesn't show on the leaderboards is volleyball IQ, and she has it. She's got a very high IQ. She's up there for me, guys. And she's just fun to watch. I'm always going to be a fan of Sarah Hughes. She's in there. She's in that conversation. But I think for this season, I'm going to go with Kristen Nuss.
Nice. I tried to speed the clock up on this one. Matty Pro.
So, yeah, I like looking at the stats here, right? But on the women's side, it's a little bit different because you have that group of blockers, right? And then you have the group of diggers. And blocking is terminal blocks is an immediate point score, right? A dig doesn't always lead to a point, right? Now, you always have to have a great defender, obviously, and Nuss is a great defender. But for me, as a former blocker, I tend to gravitate towards blockers as MVP players, right? So for me, the MVP this year is Kelly Chang. Okay, If you look at her hitting percentage, it's near the top. You look at her blocks, it's near the top. She's 5th in terminal blocks, but again, something that's not on the stats is deflections, right? And deflections very often lead to at least an attack attempt, which could turn out to be a point, right? And then service aces. Kelly Chang leads the tour in service aces and in kills. So those two instant point scoring opportunities plus her blocking, and now with her experience, and then paired together with her finishes through the season with Betsy, she's my MVP.
I'm very, very, very surprised to find that I find myself in a 2-horse race with so many worthy candidates, right? Taryn Cloth has been a fantastic hitting percentage person, and she's only been a high hitting percentage person because they never serve her partner because her partner is better, who's actually like almost a whole foot shorter, right? One's 5'6", one's 6'5". They look like mother and daughter walking together, for Christ's sakes. So, but I got to take into consideration everything you talked about. The two fastest ways to score a point is an ace and a block. All right. And you take this individual we're talking about. I pick her. I pick Kelly Chang, and I'm with you on that because if you look at aces per set and if you look at total aces, she's only ahead of her partner, Betsy Flinch, who's always going to be in the top 3 in aces per set because John Mayer, who was Betsy's coach at the time, and he's all about that serve. And you go to the LMU practices, that's all they're talking about. Mm-hmm. So, my heart and my love cannot ignore Kristen Nuss. My head and my hand is forced to give the MVP, the player of the year, to the woman who deserves it the most, and that's Kelly Chang. But I'm going to give you the floor because I know you got something to say. I would like to highlight Kristen Nuss because as juniors coaches, and I'll do a single camera for me on this. As juniors coaches, you always have these coaches that line up these girls against the wall. You're tall. You're too tall. You're not going to play this. You'll never do this. You'll never do that. No, you're not an outside hitter. No, let's save all your time and you do libero. You know, this is why nobody respects our profession because you got these glorified babysitters standing in front of the parade if the girl's good, and if she's not, then she never was, right? And you got this girl that's 5'6", in the land where everyone says only big people are supposed to be the bigger people, the bigger they are, the bigger they are. In this land of mythical giants, and you look at these MVP candidates and these MVP winners, it's always a normal sized person. Taylor Krabs could be MVP every year. He was 2013 Player of the Year at Long Beach State. The 2016 Rio Olympics, Bruno Oscar Schmidt was the MVP, graciously listed at 6 feet. We know he ain't 6 feet tall. You send this to that guy, right? So I wanted to not forget this person, Kristen Nuss, who is not, she doesn't mean to. She's just out there balling, right? Just doing her thing. But who is a voice for a lot of these girls who've been kicked around because they're shorter and have to run 150 meters for the 100-meter dash. But at the same time, I have to finish a sentence. Kelly Chang, you are a G. You're a boss. And that's all I wanted to say about that.
Yeah, no, I'm glad you mentioned that, because at 5'6", to be in the conversation and to have the season that she did, it's impressive. And, she exudes confidence, which is, as a juniors coach and a leader of an organization, that's what we're looking for. That's what we're trying to, help promote in a young person, is to let their confidence come out. Let them be more and more confident about who they are as a person, not just as a player, but who they are as a person. But Nuss, at 5'6", doing what she does on the court, moving like a cat out there, putting the ball down, doing everything. She's got skills, and it was really fun to watch her play this year.
And the fans gravitate towards her too.
Yes.
Yeah, another fan favorite.
Another
she
one.
wins the fans over because of her work effort.
Yeah.
And how hard she plays defense.
Yeah.
Well, first of all, quick as a cat, I say meow, business pro, meow. All right. So, but like you said, their fan base, NOLA, New Orleans versus all y'all. I don't know if you saw that hat. New Orleans versus all y'all. They had this fan base that was loyal when they were in college, where no one knew who they were. And you, as an FIVB commentator, will be the first to say that they have 10 different stories to tell outside of the domestic scene. Remember Australia?
Yep.
Right?
Yep.
Australia, no FIVB points. They get the last spot in the qualifier, qualify, win. Right? They go to Turkey, win. They go to Brazil, you know what I'm saying? Top 5. And then their first gold series, they have to qualify, main draw, win.
Yeah.
Before we move on, I do want to say that the top 4 players were Chang and Flint and Cloth and Nuss, and they happen to be on the same team. And the only difference between Chang not winning 3 and Sponsor on Clays is I didn't think Betsy had a good serve receiving year. So someone who, like when you serve to her, and not to mention that Misty May killer mentality, you don't want to serve her because she makes you sorry you did. But she really had an off year on serve receive, that my eye test, that doesn't show up on stats because what you're bringing back out of system doesn't show up on paper.
Right.
Matt?
Look, passing serve reception's a very difficult thing. And it's always a variable, right? Based on the wind, based on who's serving at you, based on the venue, right? Based on the how fatigued you are and what stage of the event you're in too. So serve reception is extremely important. We all know this. I can't specifically pick one event where maybe she struggled a little bit, perhaps in a final in Hermosa. I recall maybe a couple of passes not being maybe where her partner needed him to be, but yeah.
So what did we write down? Because I'm an old dude, man. I'm the oldest. I believe in it. I'm the oldest guy in this room. If anyone can believe that, but
the first thing I just want to make sure I give love to Casey Patterson. What a career, Guys. And the way that he finished. Went out on a high horse and, was balling all year. Had a great year.
Casey had a great career.
He had a great career, amazing career.
He won this year, right? Playing with Phil.
Yeah.
Right? Not to steal your thunder, Wex, but he had a great career. Like when Casey Patterson came out to the beach, I don't know if anyone would have expected him to make it to the Olympics.
No.
Right, in Rio. So that's a huge accomplishment, right? Yeah. And then what did he win 18 times on tour, including Manhattan, right? Playing with Jake, that was one of the best partnerships, in the last couple of decades, I'd say. And so
and talk about a guy who brings energy, right? And that's what our sport needed for a long time. We needed someone to come out there and engage with the fans and have the mohawk hair and just have a different kind of style on the beach and just and that was him. and talking, right? What are you doing? You know, all that kind of stuff.
As a fan, you definitely gravitated towards him, right? And as a player against him, you kind of like it got under your skin.
Yeah.
So you had to make sure that you didn't let him get under your skin because he was so good at everything else as like a 6'6" defender.
Yeah.
Right? To get the ball, past him, but then also to block him offensively because he was either serve him or Jake. Right?
Yeah.
So who do you serve in that comp? That's a tough team to serve at.
Yeah.
He had such a great straight and simple approach after his pass. He'd pass and he kind of line up almost like bodies, his posture straight, sees the whole court. And it seems like time slows down for this guy and he's moving at normal speed. But everything else is moving like three-quarter speed. And that's what I thought he did well. I want to punt the ball to my beach volleyball guys on this question. Then I'm absolutely privileged to have you guys in the same room together with me. How much do you think KC Patterson has taught some of the players present tense and some of the future players on how to market themselves and understand the business side of this? The guy could wear a NASCAR suit to a game with his sponsors and the way he took care of it. Let's talk a little bit about that. I'd like to, but I got some geniuses in the room, and I'm gonna do something for once in my life and shut up and let y'all talk.
So first of all, what I would say is talk about a guy who fully committed himself to the game. That's where I'm going to start with that, right? Number one, as a family man, right? He took care of his family. He's got a huge family.
He has 5 kids.
Yeah.
Here's a story.
but let's start there, right? Because that takes a man to do that. And then on top of that, commit to your craft the way that he did. I just want to recognize him for that because that takes a lot of energy and a lot of compartmentalization, but the passion that he has for the sport allows him to be marketable, right? So without that passion, it's actually kind of tough. Yes, you can be, be on the leaderboards, but you got to have that passion because that's what all these companies and sponsors are gravitating towards, right? So he's got that passion, he's got the commitment, and he's got this off-court presence, right? You can just talk to him and he can laugh and smile and you just want to keep talking to him. Right. And so that personability is, I think, a huge part of how he got that.
The 3 Ps.
Yeah.
Presence, personality, and professionalism.
Right.
Right. I think in terms of like marketing, that's what companies want. Right. Mm-hmm. Anybody could come up to Casey and he would stop what he was doing and talk to him, take a picture, sign an autograph, do a social media thing, like whatever it is now. Right. And he was great at it. And yeah, his shorts look like a NASCAR sometimes, for sure. But you know what? Good for him. I mean, it's not like sponsors are knocking on everyone's door saying, hey, we want to sponsor you.
And don't NASCAR people make money? That wasn't an insult.
Exactly.
I think our politicians should do that. Wear a NASCAR suit.
He absolutely 100% taught a lot of people how to be marketable, how to make money outside of prize money on the beach tour, probably domestic and international. And talk about like a legacy, right? That if that's something that you take from someone else's career to try to advance your own for the younger generation, absolutely, you got to do that with him.
And if it's within your personality, engage with the fans. Like for me, that wasn't something that I could do. But watching him, the way that he could play the game at a high level, look to a fan, talk a little smack, engage real quick, go right back to the game. That makes you more watchable.
Think about the golden era of volleyball, right? The 90s of beach volleyball. Tim Hovland, Randy Stoklos, St. John Smith, Karch and Kent were a little robotic, but you had these personalities, right?
Yeah.
We didn't have any personalities for a little while, and they're starting to come back.
Loyola,
they've been back, right?
Mm-hmm.
Loyola was one of those two. It came back with Casey, right? And now Trevor kind of has that personality where, like, he's the bad guy, right? He's going to guarantee a win. He's going to drop an F-bomb into the mic, He's going to dump beer on his head and, like, kind of, be like that guy, which our sport needs those personalities for engagement from fans.
Yeah.
Right. I think what he brought to the table was knowing if you're that kind of person, then you have to come with that same energy all the time. And you have to come with the pressure that goes with it, right? Someone asked me who's the best club coach out there. I told him me. And I told him me because if I say that out loud, I know it puts a lot of pressure that any mistake I make was with a magnifying glass and it's amplified 5-fold and it looks like I don't know what I'm doing. And if you are willing to take to assume that risk and take that pressure and take the heat that comes with it, then you and if it doesn't crush you, what it's doing with Trevor right now and Taylor, if they can take it, that's a great career, like you said, and that's what I think Casey Patterson taught you. If you're like me, and if you're able to take the heat, because some of the things he says to the fans, like, right, you're like, oh my God, I'm gonna give Casey 2 plays before he gets hit, and then the fans are gonna be like, oh, but he can take it, and that's what I got from him. That's what I got.
He had a great career, and I've just got to go back to the commitment, right? He just committed to the game. He committed to the game. He committed himself to the game. He would drive to Huntington quite a bit to train.
From Thousand Oaks.
Yeah, from TO.
That's like an hour and a half without traffic.
Right.
2.5 with traffic.
Right. And he would, and then, another thing that Casey did really well is he surrounded himself with greatness, right? Whether it was partners or coaches or opponents, training opponents, he would just always surround himself with greatness. And that's really what it takes.
He had such a good run with Jake. I mean, I don't even remember who he played with before Jake, right? And then obviously having Tyler Hildebrand as their coach.
Ty Loomis, yeah. They won Coney Island. That was Ty Loomis, one of Ty Loomis's 2 championships. Yeah. He won with Madison McKibben, but I think a whole decade earlier in 2009, Brooklyn, New York.
Shout out Ty Loomis.
Trust me, I know. He was a bleach blonde. He was a towhead back then, right? And that business up front, party in the back turned a little bit more reddish, and still a young face, still a young personality. And I guess you got to be when you have a tribe full of kids like that, man. That's an indoor team right there, guys. And
he's just an athlete. I think he's doing pickleball now.
Yeah.
But he'll always be an athlete.
Pickleball. That's how we're going out now, huh? What was the other topic? Because this is where I think Matt, having Matt in the room definitely is going to be productive in this conversation.
I just wanted to spark a conversation about the AVP just because I'm a fan. I just want to see it grow. I want to see it thrive. I'd like to see more prize money. I'd like to see more faces. I just wanted to spark that conversation.
Yeah. Can I start?
Yeah,
I think what the AVP did well. As far as prize money looks a little bit bigger, right? As far as like partnershiping with some of these tournaments that are going to be around anyway, like Wapaka, New Orleans, they have their own Coconut Beach thing, Atlantic City. All of these tournaments that are going to have tournaments regardless. The partnership with the AVP and like the collaboration, I thought was very, very, very well done. I had my doubts in the beginning, and I thought there were 1 or 2 guys behind the curtain that were like way in over their head, but I'm glad I'm in a position to be wrong about those things and say, good for you guys. Big up to Jeff Conover. Big up to Josh Glazebrook, one of the guys who I thought was in over his head. But he's when push comes to shove, and the man had to do what he had to do. What's the end result? Phoenix is a great result. And that's why I wanted to punt back to you guys, right? All of this momentum. You had this conversation about Phoenix, like, dude, what comes next? What kind of momentum are we going to have after Phoenix? Is it just going to be Phoenix and we're going to have this high, this drunken stupor, and then we wake up the next morning and it's gone? Or is Phoenix kind of this segue or this roadway where there's some kind of fan engagement sustainability? Does everybody understand where I'm going with this? No?
I do. Yeah, okay, I understand.
Absolutely.
Jay, I don't know what the hell you're talking about.
No,
I think,
absolutely.
Anyone that's been around beach volleyball through the cycles of ownerships, right, and the highs and the lows, the peaks and the valleys, right, that beach volleyball just is associated with, right? I think we saw with Donald Sun owning it, it was going in the right direction, okay? It's business still, right? Businesses make decisions, they sell to another business, right? Bally buys it. Maybe Bally's doesn't really know what they're getting, right? And putting together a little bit of a skeleton crew like Al Lau, Josh Glazebrook, Jeff Conover, I think the product that they put out there for what they had and the resources that they had and the time that they had to do it was spectacular.
Yeah.
Like they should get tons of credit and kudos, right?
For sure.
For the fans that are watching, you have to ask them to be patient, right? Because what's the saying? Rome wasn't built in a night, right? You got to give the AVP with this new ownership group a couple of years, right? Do they need an extra camera on court 2 with commentators? Yeah, absolutely, because people want to watch those games.
Put me in, coach.
Right? Do they want to gamify it? Do you want to be able to bet on beach volleyball? Yeah, because that's where sports is going, is online betting, right? So there's definitely room for improvement. There always is, right? But what's the alternative? No professional beach volleyball in the U.S.? That would be a travesty, right? No one wants to see that again. We've been through that. Yeah. That's not good for anyone, obviously, or the sport itself.
Right.
So I think it was a great year. What the AVP can do. Would we want to see more prize money? Yes. Do we want to see more events? Yes.
Yeah,
But
I think that'll come too.
It's got to build up.
Yeah.
You know.
Okay, so I got a lot to say on this topic. The first thing I want to say is, yeah, they did a great job, right? They did a great job this is the first year as Bally's took over, right? So knowing that, and then knowing that these tournaments are expensive to put on, right? It's a lot. It's a big budget to put these things on.
Yeah, well, it comes with being a professional sports
Yeah,
league.
but right. But there's not a whole lot of exchange, right? There's
Merchandising, alcohol sales, ticket sales.
There's not a whole lot, so it's expensive. So that I want to give them credit because what I'm trying to say is not. I don't want to be overcritical. I am a fan. I want them to thrive, but I was hoping for more engagement, right? For fan engagement. From that Phoenix Championships, I thought that they missed an opportunity to engage with the fans right there in the chat, in that YouTube chat. Go ahead and just talk to us. Ask us questions. Do a poll. What do you guys want to see more? Who are your favorite players? They could have done a round table like this, like we're doing right now in the chat. Right, which would create more engagement.
I like that suggestion though, because I've been part of some of those chats, and like in the beginning, like a year ago, I'm like, these motherfuckers, these freakers are crazy. I ain't talking to none of these people. But then all of a sudden, greetings from Germany, hey, whatever, and then you start seeing the same names. You've seen the same names so much. I come in and I type the boss in the building, and everyone knows who it is. So it's like it became this crew of usual suspects that were inviting. And not like, how sometimes you get these old school guys that are like freaking cranky old farts about it. You don't know, back in my day.
There's a lot of those.
But there's always going to be that. But there's always going to be that. But the chat section has evolved into this thing where volleyball players of all levels and all walks of life have been engaging and welcoming. Taylor Crabb jumped in and he was so funny they thought he was a fake account. They kept calling him Fake Taylor, and then I called him or I texted him. I'm like, "That's really you, right?" And he's like, "Yeah." He goes, "LOL, yes, that's me."
Well, there should be more of that. And another idea I had was, during a game, why doesn't the AVP have one person to be in charge of that chat, ask questions from the audience? The audience can submit questions, and then whoever's commentating can choose one of those questions or comments in exchange for a shout out. Everyone wants a shout out. Everyone's likes recognition. That creates engagement.
So I do some commentating for an indoor league, the NVA, and we broadcast those matches on YouTube, and we do answer questions about specific things that come up in the chat to the fans that are watching, and that does bring fan engagement.
Yeah,
for sure. Right back. It's instant ROI. Okay.
Yeah.
And will it happen in the future for the AVP? I mean, certainly hope so. But again, it's a growth thing,
Yeah. No, totally. And I'd like to see more player profiles and stories about the players, because at the end of the day,
Matt Prosser territory.
He's so good. It's
so
about
good at
stories, right, Matt? I mean, yes, money, yes, championships, yes, growth, but stories.
Yeah, you got to have some behind the scenes.
Like your story, man.
Like all of our stories. I mean, everyone's got stories, right?
Everyone in this room, man.
24 hours with a pro, during a normal training week. Like, what's that look like? Show the viewers how much work actually goes into it, what the lifestyle's actually like. These are professional athletes that don't get paid nearly the same as what other professional athletes get paid in the United States. Like, highlight that to try to make it a little bit more equal, maybe.
Yeah. And then another thing is relatability. Right? This sport is not that relatable to the majority of the country. Right? How can we make it more relatable?
What he just said.
Yeah, well, that would be one thing. Maybe some other things, some more clinics. Maybe some more traveling clinics. That could be a part of the next season's budget, because I didn't really see any of that. I saw affiliations with other tours. That's great.
Look, do something that allows the fans to emotionally invest and follow you on that journey.
Yes.
I'm a Yankee fan, all right? Judge hit 62. Do you know how many people were having babies that night?
Yeah. That ball went for $2 million.
$2 million.
But not just that. People are drinking and having a good time. They're singing and they're doing things inspirational that are outside of the sport of baseball, where it looks like one thing has nothing to do with the other, but there is a connection. There is this, I won't call it logical connection, because I never saw the logic and I never will, but I know it's there.
Right.
It's omnipresent.
Right.
It's and you're more of a spiritual guy, so maybe I could punt the ball back to you on that one. Though I wanted to give Prosser a little bit more input on this.
Yeah.
And I think I like your idea, in the fan interactions. You take a journey with someone, you start caring about his journey, and when you see some of the demons they conquer, that inspires somebody else to conquer their demons. All of this guy's fat, he wants to lose weight. All of a sudden, a year later, dude, I watched a Tri-Born video, and I lost 60 pounds. You know what I'm saying? You'll hear more stories like that where they'll be grateful to the sport that they're following, and not just that, it'll attract new fans, right?
Attract
old school
and
volleyball is
get
a
them
dying
to buy
generation.
in. Not just attract them, but get them to buy in.
Yeah.
And follow the players that they can relate to because they've seen a little bit more.
Our fans are getting old, man. Our fans are getting old. We can't have a 5-year plan where it's don't die. Okay, we got to, and hopefully we will be collectively better at that. I like that.
Yeah, and a couple other ideas that I had was highlight the podcasts that are going on. Highlight your podcast. Highlight my highlight Sandcast.
That'll be the day.
You know, highlight. but you have right now. You have more than ever before. You have conversations that are happening, public conversations that are being published about these things, about the game, about the stories. Like highlight them, talk about them. You know, specifically from the AVP. Like share. Right. It's all about sharing.
Being that the AVP is on YouTube now. All you really got to do is just have a content creator.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying.
They could have their own podcast.
Yeah.
Right. And every week, it's the weekly AVP roundup.
Yeah.
And talk about
Sign
the
Aaron
last
up.
event, talk about new partnerships,
Right.
talk about stats, talk about who's playing good, talk about drama
Yeah.
between Hayden and Crab or whatever, these things.
Yeah.
And get fan buy-in.
Here's an uncomfortable challenge that a lot of people don't want to hear too, since we're deep into this conversation. And I'm the one with the least to lose here, so I'll just say what I got to say. Make sure we continue to enlist people who deliver. There are people who have a great past. This guy's an NCAA champion. Oh, that guy was in the Olympics. That guy is this and that. But it's a cold world, my man. I'm a Bill Parcells guy. And Bill Parcells, of course, part of it, you are what your record says you are, but the other part is, I don't care what you did 20 years ago. Can you do this? Are you the best? Like, let's say they're looking for a play-by-play guy. Are you the best person for this job right here, right now? Can you do the job right here, right now? Yes or no? Well, I did this in the past. That's not what I'm asking. No, this job. This is why Chuck Daly, who never dribbled a basketball in his life, won 2 rings. And that's why Isaiah, who won 2 rings under him, can't coach his way out of a paper bag. He's got 2 championships. I don't trust that guy to coach the Knicks or even the Timberwolves, all right? So, or whoever, Sacramento Kings. So they need to know, have a healthy balance of who brings star power. I get people's past credential, and maybe I'm speaking a little bit for myself, and you guys see that. But who's the best guy for the job? Yes or no? Right, Matt. Right now, as I just told you before the podcast, Matt, you are one of the top 3 guys that are interchangeables. You can do play-by-play and color and breakdown. You can sit in a room by yourself. You could have Chris Muller in a room and you're the breakdown guy, or you can have Stokeless, and you could be the setup guy for him. And there's only a handful of interchangeables. Use you. AVP, you're like, you have everything to gain and very little to use. Use this guy, and I'll make it about me. So how would it use me? I believe I'm one of the best guys out there without the California past. I mean, that's okay, right? Can you do the job or not? Matt Prosser, this guy, you'd be awesome for the if they had an interactive thing. My God, I don't know. I don't mean to sound like I'm selling the 3 of us, but man, this guy he'd be terrific. He would be terrific.
Well, like Matt said, they're probably working on all this stuff. It's only the first year, so hopefully they are.
Use Kyle.
Yeah, Kyle Friend is great.
He was dry at first, but man, he looked at Papa Bear and is like, okay, I want to be like that guy. And now Kyle is good.
I recruited Kyle.
Yeah.
And coached him, and then we got to broadcast together. It was awesome.
Yeah.
I mean, go ahead.
Well, did you want to talk any more about the broadcasting? Because I got a few other ideas here. But
let's move on.
Table.
So
we're an hour 21 in, boys.
Well, okay. So the other part of this conversation for growth, right, is you have to look at the youth. You have to. It's the #1 sport in the country for girls right now, participation wise. You have to use that somehow, right? And yeah, I'm a club director and a club owner, so I'm a little biased in that sense. But not everyone's going to be an AVP athlete. Most people aren't, but they should be celebrated in their journey as a youth athlete. right? And they should be at least recognized. And I think the AVP could actually recognize all the beach volleyball clubs, because there's not too many of them, but there's more and more of them, right? And so I think that could be a part of the conversation for growth anyway.
When you look at the sport of volleyball, indoors and beach, it's the #1 high school girls sport in the entire nation. Right. And almost every state. I saw something the other day on AVCA, like only 3 states volleyball is not the #1 girls sport in high school. That's your future. Like, you have to capitalize on it.
Yeah.
Not just indoors, but beach also.
Guys, it's also on all of the major college sports network, SEC channel, Big Ten, which is actually the #1 indoor division, right? They have like 6 in the top 10, right?
Big 10, yeah.
All of these networks, volleyball is the #3 most viewed sport on their cable channel, only behind college football and college basketball.
And more,
so, like you said, #1.
Yeah. And more youth clubs are popping up. And so those directors and owners and that whole organization should be highlighted. There should be little stories. Hey, this club is doing this. Hey, this club's doing this differently. Hey, check this out. You know, that creates more engagement. That creates more stories.
The fact that beach volleyball is a college women's sport is huge for the sport of beach volleyball and the development here for the United States Olympic path as well. Because look at Sponsel and Clays were the youngest Olympians ever for beach volleyball, and now they're winning. I mean, it's like, I'm scared that the men are going to get left behind, right? But they are going to get left behind because there's never going to be an NCAA beach competition for men.
Well,
there might be eventually, I guess.
There's a couple schools.
Stevenson College just started
in Maryland.
Running.
Yeah,
it is coming,
so
right? But it's going to be slow. You know, I guess slow's better than zero.
Exactly.
Right?
Guys, Stevenson, by the way, has a great volleyball community. Like where Stevenson is located in a particular.
You're telling me that
in
Pepperdine doesn't,
and the Maryland
Long Beach
area?
State doesn't.
Yeah.
Like all these schools in Southern Hawaii.
Well, I mean,
right?
if serving oneself is, yeah. Maryland and Stevenson's trying to do something bi-coastal, nationwide. Pepperdine, I'm gonna be real, only cared about Pepperdine. They don't care about some guy from some team from New York. Stevenson's doing something that's trying to affect beach volleyball bi-coastal, right. and that's. Don't you think that's kind of sad, since this is the hotbed? That
it is sad, especially when you look at the growth of boys volleyball on the high school level as well, indoors. Yes. Okay, there's tons of kids that would come out to the beach on the
4.5 scholarships for men's indoor.
Still.
And this could all be done through Bally's. They just need some organization through it. They got the money.
Maybe that's what's coming, right?
And hopefully.
Maybe we're just sitting here talking ish, right? And someone at Bally's is like, oh, wait till these guys
No, but that'd be great.
They're in the boardroom talking about
That'd be great. But that leads me to my next thing. My final point is foundations, right? There should be a foundation set up for underprivileged kids that do not normally have access to this sport. Very similar to, I don't know if you guys are familiar with Mamba and Mamacita Foundation, but they do basketball camps at the Sports Academy for underprivileged kids. And it's set up through the Kobe Bryant Foundation and Vanessa Bryant Foundation. But they're thriving. And there should be something like, we don't really have that. I know Dig for Kids. I know Eric Fenoy and Dame Blanton did that.
Oh, come on.
But you know, I don't know if they're still doing that. And, you know, I know J.O. used to do something.
We're doing something now.
That's great.
I wanted the Matt to get a word in because
that's great.
I think that's a great point.
Yeah.
I mean, on the indoor side, it's happened before a little bit with, I think, Starlings is a volleyball club.
Omar Vargas on the East Coast too. Yeah. Starlings is coast to coast.
But Wex, you're totally right. There's a huge underserved population of this nation that doesn't play volleyball. And how do we get those younger athletes introduced to the sport?
And it could even be from a company like Wilson. It doesn't have to be Bally's and the AVP. Wilson could come in and say, you know what, we're going to do this, guys. We're going to grab some ambassadors. We're going to take some Wilson ambassadors. We're going to invite kids out to the beach, and we're going to do a little clinic, and maybe a kid will fall in love with the sport.
Jason Olive, who's the program director for LA Volleyball Club. Dane, by the way, is figureheading the beach part. So and I'm with them right now. Jason Olive has decided to move to Culver City, where Vista Del Mar High School is. Mm-hmm. It's more inland, and they're exposing players who are not part of the volleyball culture, who have a mild interest. Maybe they got a gym teacher and knows volleyball. And we've been doing these clinics 3 days a week. I'm in El Segundo, so I'm like their South Bay guy because the commute is horrific for them, but golden for me. And we have these tryouts, and we recruited 40% of all of our teams are Black and Latino players inland who don't have the privilege of being coached at Miracosta, this and that and this. So as your question, I'm not saying Jace is the answer to everything, but I think they need to take a look at two things. One, what J.O.'s doing at LA Volleyball Club, and two, there's a high school called John Jay High School in Brooklyn. They had so many teams. Now, Park Slope, and if you know anything about Brooklyn, there's Park Slope and there's Red Hook. It's like a West Side Story. Brownstones, rich fat white girls, here. Guys, people living on top of each other, Black and Latino players, poor, roach infested projects, here. Divided by 6th Avenue or whatever. And Mike Salick, who's the assistant coach, found out that the teams had two teams. One was a varsity team, and that team happened to be all the white kids, and the Black and Latino kids and minorities were another team.
This is an amazing story. Actually, I heard a podcast about this.
That's it.
While I was in
that was it.
This is an amazing story.
That's the New Yorker.
It needs to be listened to.
And his name is Mike Salick. Yeah. He played at LIU, and then he played in Greece or whatever. He played with Seydou. Remember Seydou Ajanako? Him and Seydou rolled together. Pottstown Rumble, they took second together. So he's this mensch from, we talked about mensch before, from Brooklyn that integrated. He can't even fathom how these teams were separate and how nobody picked this up. Wasn't it crazy? Talk to me, Matt.
Yeah, it's a really great story. I listened to this podcast from the New Yorker while I was in Poland. But basically what Mike Salick has done is he's taken kids from two vastly different communities and brought them together into one volleyball program because of the way that the school is established, right?
Yes.
And basically what was sort of like modern day segregation, for lack of a better description, he's brought everyone together to share the experiences of volleyball and competition and gotten them better for it, but then has dealt with all the other things that come along with it, right? The psychological side of it, the ethnic side of it, and sort of, well, these ones are more privileged because they get to go play club and these ones don't, and it's all kind of intertwined. And this isn't a made-up story. This is real life that goes on there.
This has happened. This is some modern-day Remember the Titans type stuff.
Yeah.
And I only say Remember the Titans because he took this team, this quasi-segregated team, and they made the PSAL finals last year. Mm-hmm. They lost in the finals. They went all the way to the end, and I'm still a New York guy, so I've been following the high school scene in New York because these city kids from different. Remember I said the different neighborhoods, the Russians, the immigrants already been playing since childhood, the Dominicans. So Balmeso, if you remember Balmeso, half of those kids are uptown Washington Heights. So I really love what Mike's doing, and I like. It produced this result, this integrated, remembered. When I saw it and when I saw them make the PSL finals, I was like, if they win, this is a Remember the Titans story. If they win the PSALs, they lost to Bronx Science, but I'm glad you brought that up. And I'm sure Mike, who's a pretty quiet guy, would appreciate the shine because I don't know if he knows how to or if he's just so ingratiated into the sport. You know, some guys are just they're all about that action. They don't want to talk about all this. So I'm glad we took the time to highlight that.
Yeah, and I just want to finish that thought by saying, look, I'm not trying to be critical. I'm actually very grateful with what AVP is trying to do. And
eternally.
Yeah, no, totally. I mean, like you said, it's better than nothing, and especially after COVID, we didn't even mention that. Right? Like there was nothing going on during that time.
Let's circle it all the way back, right, a little bit to more specifically beach volleyball, just in general, right? And what USA Volleyball can do also to expose these underserved, appreciated demographics or areas that people don't get to see beach volleyball or even attempt to play the sport, right? Like the PGA has this first tee. You guys know the first tee?
Yeah.
Right? They have regional competitions.
And scholarships.
And then these kids get to go to Augusta to the Masters for their, culminate their Super Bowl, basically. Why can't there be first serve, right, for lack of a better word, of a regional type thing where kids get together and play and they punch a ticket to Manhattan Beach and they get to play right next to the pros on Stadium Court in Manhattan Open, right, for like a national championship. That's how you get youth involved, right? You have to expose them to them and give them the opportunity to fall in love with it.
Yeah, they've done that really well with AVP First. Because I do remember center court. Like I was with Endless Summer. Like Natalie Miskowski, who's at UCLA. I remember coaching her in the finals. Eden McCoy was also at USC. So they've done a good job. But I think what he was talking about was exposing players who can't afford to be part of these clubs.
Yeah, but that's a good idea too.
And like you said, maybe the AVP, like you said, arrange scholarships, access, not just access, but It's like, I love the access, I love the coaches, but I can't afford this. You know, you're gonna have a mom say, I can't do this. I don't have the money.
Here's an idea. You could actually utilize the facilities at these colleges now. Dane would host somebody at USC. Stein would host somebody, you know, like a little group event. And that's a great idea, actually. I just thought of that right now. You could actually, they could have their teams be coaches to some of these kids. They could, you know, and create like a bond situation, right?
Look at you. Our phones are buzzing right now. Everybody, we're an hour and a half in. Everyone's wondering where. No, but everyone's wondering where the hell we are. And last time you and I talked, we felt like we could have went like 4, right? It was insane. Sure. So actually, let's wrap up now because I gotta. I want to pick up my nanny's gonna pick up my kid, but I promised my nanny I would go with her. And I also have El Segundo, the free clinic I do for players of all levels.
That's awesome.
I do every single Thursday in High Performance Center.
Very cool.
El Segundo, I'm heading that up. So somebody wants to know a little bit more about Aaron Wexler. Hook up your IG or just where they can find him or your website.
Yeah.
I know you're West Coast Volleyball, so camera's yours. Camera shot on you, brother.
Appreciate it. Yeah, West Coast VBC is westcoastvbc.com is our beach volleyball club, West Coast Beach. I also host a podcast called Within the Game.
Really good one.
At Within the Game podcast on IG. And I'm about to release my new book, The Inspired Athlete. So,
Matty Pro.
Congratulations.
Matty Pro is sweating in here. He looks like
I'm starting to get hot.
He looked like a dude, you look like a Baptist minister right now.
That Wex is sweating through his shirt over here.
I am. It's hot in here.
This room gets hot because I think the uncomfortability makes us want to get the subject matter out there. But you look like you belong in a church. If you
starting to get there.
If you don't know if you go into heaven or hell, you go into hell. Where can we meet Matty Pro?
Really just on Instagram. The Matt Prosser is my Instagram profile. You can reach out to me there.
Beach Volleyball World too, right?
I'm on Beach Volleyball TV, Volleyball World TV for indoors and beach stuff. And NVA USA is something that's on YouTube. It's an indoor league, but it's something that we do every year. It starts up in January. Some teams from across the country.
Gonna be fun, yeah.
Or reach out to Jay here.
All right, so guys, Aaron Wexler and Matt Prosser might love you guys, but me, I think I love y'all too. I love y'all too. Thanks for listening to us, okay? For all of you on your iPhones, for all of you on your iPads, for all of you on your desktop, who runs the world? Old school. For my man, Aaron Wexler from West Coast Volleyball, and Matty Pro from Beach Volleyball Nation, and God knows where else. I'm Jason DeBeas. We're going to hit my music, and we are out of here.